I'm introducing a brand new project called the Quincy Cottage. So this home actually belongs to Doug, the man behind the camera, and his wife, Talia. We are going to be working with him to renovate this entire home, to get this home not only beautiful and functional, but improving some of the systems along the way. Started by gutting the entire inside, and as things evolved, as they usually do with a renovation, we ended up stripping all of the siding on the outside. So let's talk about the exterior first. We have actually partnered with GCP for their Vicor product on their wall, as well as the Grace Ice and Water on the roof. You guys are probably familiar with that product, but this is a self-adhered WRB. With renovations, one of the things where I found challenging in the past, with the self-adhered product, it works really great on new plywood, but this home here actually has a board sheathing, very traditional in these early 1900 homes. When you go to put a self-adhered product on it, it doesn't always stick that well. A dust on it, dirt on it, it's rough sawn, so there's a lot of things working against you. So you install it and staple that top edge. And what those staples are going to do is going to hold that in place, and then you're going to come down with that second piece, and you're going to have that self-adhered overlap that's going to cover up most of those staples. Super impressed with Vicor and how it did adhere to the old board form. Another technical tip in this application, you actually want to tape the corners first and then overlap with the WRB. Contrary to some of the other products that we've used in our other videos, here you're going to be installing the tape first. We've also used their flashing tape around the windows. And speaking of windows, we've replaced all of the windows in the home. We are installing Rockwool comfort board on the outside of the home. Now, this is important for a lot of reasons. It's giving us an additional R value on the home and kind of giving you that blanket feel to the home. So the WRB, the GCP Vicor, is going to kind of wrap everything and make it more airtight than it was, but adding that layer of Rockwool on the outside, here we're using 1 inch, going to give that extra layer of blanket, kind of like that sweater. The final condition of this home is going to be a clapboard siding. So once we get that insulation installed on the outside, we'll actually come back and install vertical battens in preparation for our clapboard. But we'll walk through all of those details and show you what that looks like as it goes up in another episode. But today I want to show you guys on the inside and kind of give you a lay of the land of what we're going to end up turning this home into. Just for reference, the home was in need of a gut renovation, so we had completed that, but it was also a 1-bathroom, kind of 2-bedroom home when we started. Okay, so why don't we go inside? So the main entry to this home is actually on the side or back of the home. The front entry, which is facing the water, is more of a secondary means of egress because you have this driveway, 1-car garage here, so when you're getting out of the car, you're going to come into this backside entrance. Staircase going up, existing to remain, but we'll come back to that. You can actually see that all of the subfloor has been flattened and a new Advantech subfloor has been installed. That was something that we felt as though was necessary. When we go down the basement, you'll see that every floor joist in this home is actually only a 2x6. So every floor joist has been now sistered to add some structural integrity to it. And then we've taken the opportunity, and the framers have done a great job of coming in here and flattening this floor. Being that we brought this down to the studs on just the envelope, it gave us that opportunity to get this really wide open, easier to kind of come in here and lay a really nice flat floor. So when you're thinking about doing a renovation, if you have the opportunity to start with new subfloor, absolutely recommended. It really sets the basis for the rest of the project. So in the front here, we've actually switched from single windows to double, and that was really mainly due to the fact that previously they weren't taking advantage of the water views at all. Right now the door is open, you have this nice glass door. Again, you have the water view across, which is really nice. And just for what it's worth, someone can't actually build a house there, so Doug and Talia will always have that really stellar view of the water there. And when this is all kind of put together, you'll be able to frame really nice views in the way that you sit in this space. And then every other window has been replaced basically in kind. So what we did when we were considering replacing the windows is we took the 2 standard sizes. We had singles and doubles and took that and kind of replaced what we could with the same size. So everything from the outside is even. The 2 singles were replaced with the same size doubles on the front, and again, you're getting that consistency, and on the inside and outside, everything looks the same. There used to be a wall here, and we got with our engineer, figured out what we needed, this tripled up LVL above us, posted down to the foundation on either side, now gave us the opportunity to get this living space, dining space, and kitchen space all in this one nice open area. Now, from the outside, small cottage. From the inside, this feels like a nice, really big space. Framers came in and assisted all of these roof rafters. Previously, these roof rafters were 2x4, 2 foot on center. They had these wild steel brackets and tie rods holding things together. But that's pretty traditional in these old cottages. They weren't overly framed. They were pretty lightly framed, and they did a pretty decent job. But we came in here, sistered everything up, strengthened everything, and while doing so, we added these 3 skylights. So once that tarp is off the roof, it's going to pull in some additional light in here, but also vaulted this ceiling. So we have a grand space, but also a very, very specific separation from kitchen to living space. So depending on how the furniture is laid out, you really do have that defining line without having a wall separating it. Now up there is all additional living space that was previously an attic, and that goes to the primary bedroom. Here we have the dining space. But let's talk about this kitchen. So from the outside, the intent is that we're gonna have this clapboard siding, really traditional cottage feel to it. The intent is to have this contrasting dark siding with the light white trim and windows. Pretty traditional asphalt roof. But inside we're gonna start peeling in some kind of more modern elements. One of the things that we decided on is to build this awesome backsplash window. A detail that I've been wanting to pull off for a while. Doug and Talia went for it. We're gonna have this L-shaped kitchen here, which essentially you'll have your refrigerator and your kind of appliance wall, and then you're gonna have this countertop that comes all the way down here. And this will be where your sink is, potentially your cooktop, but the point being is, rather than having a traditional backsplash, we'll have this window that kind of looks out into the driveway, and if landscaped right, you can situate that so you have a really nice view of where the fence line is now, landscape that with some greenery, and you have a nice shot out that window. But again, pouring a lot more natural light into this otherwise dark kitchen area, and then give you the opportunity of putting cabinets above or not. But this is something that we're going to partner with the team over at Materia on and help design, and then we'll be fabricating this kitchen, and then probably have some sort of island here as well. Now working our way down, we'll pop down in the basement just for a quick moment. We have these pots and pans that were found on the wall. More importantly is that this was just kind of wiped clean, and we are going to be resituating everything. So ultimately this would be great to finish one day, but number one concern for us is making sure that we're managing moisture. So everything's been stripped out of here. There was an old wood floor for some reason, probably allow moisture to pass underneath it. But we want to address this down here, make sure that we're preventing moisture from getting in here, likely adding some sort of dehumidification, and then giving a clean slate to rework all of the utilities from plumbing, electrical, and future HVAC. And when it comes to that, so we have this, I say old, but it's actually a very relatively new gas-fired furnace. We're going to be abandoning that and getting rid of gas and going to a mini split system. And with the smaller footprint, we'll have some head units where necessary in order for us to not only heat, but also air condition the space at a very highly efficient level. Beyond that, we talked about sistering all the floor joists. And you can see the framers have started doing that. And again, you can see the undersized framing, or at the time was probably very traditional, 2x6. So coming through and just sistering all of these from our sill into our center carrying beam, stiffening up that floor. So between adding that plywood, locking everything, gluing and screwing everything together, and sistering it, it's gonna really stiffen up that first floor, so it's more comfortable and we don't have to worry about the structural integrity of it. Also, one of the things that we had because of the gas-fired appliances was this chimney. And we actually removed that all the way up to the roof because we'll go up on the second floor and, well, you'll see exactly why. So we'll head upstairs. The bathroom here is gonna get a refresh, but for the time being, it works. Obviously fixture upgrades and probably some tile, but otherwise the bathroom is in relatively good shape. So going upstairs, there's obvious things that we have to do. We obviously need to add a handrail. We're gonna add a half wall right here to basically create some separation. But otherwise, this bedroom up here won't be completely separated. The staircase is kind of enough separation, and this was previously just kind of an attic space that maybe could have been used as a bedroom, but would have been relatively uncomfortable, primarily because your head height was here, but as you work your way into the roof line, you get really, really tight really quickly. So what we did is we designed and framed this shed dormer on this side, put these awesome little awning windows up high, and what that's gonna do is give a perfect spot for a bed to be tucked up underneath it, have some natural light coming up over the bed, but really just situate a nice spot for the bed. It's nice in the bedroom too when you're considering renovating, is having the bed so you can kind of see the point of entry rather than that point of entry being behind you. Gives you that point of view, and frankly I think it's a more calming and comfortable setup. So that's why we end up putting the dormer on this back side. The other side of it was a consideration of what this home looked like from the street. Now that side is where our driveway is, and as you approach the home, we wanted to keep the cottage look and keep it small and not really mess with the form of it or the massing of it. So tucking it on this back side, you actually don't see this dormer much at all on the home. So by putting it here, it made the most sense for both of those reasons. So we have this awesome space up here, which will be our primary. We talk about adding a half wall here. We're going to be building a wall down here, which will give you single hang, maybe some pull-out storage for closet and clothing storage, but ultimately using that low roof line as a built-in closet, and only coming out as far as necessary to work with the furniture layout in the rest of the space. But this is the biggest win, because here is where we basically took advantage of all this overframing, and this back part of the home was added on at some point. So the original cottage actually ended, you can see the roof rafter coming here right about where this wall is. So it was really just kind of this square home with a hip roof on it. And then at some point they built this addition and they overframed that roof, and all of that overframing was kind of mismatched in here, and this was just all attic space. So we talk about encompassing a bunch of that cubic footage in the living room, but then we took advantage of this space by adding a bathroom. Now let's recap. It was originally, let's call it one bed, one bath. Well, we've just added a bedroom with its own bathroom, primary bathroom. So now we're up to 2 baths, and that's 2 full bathrooms. So we have a tub shower down there, and up here we're gonna be able to get a shower, a likely double vanity, a water closet, which I guess arguably would be a 3/4 bath, being that it's a shower, not a tub shower. Still a big win, but we're also gonna be able to tuck in laundry up here. So rather than having laundry in the basement, we're able to have it up on the 2nd floor. Most of that laundry is gonna be anyway. Huge progress here in really utilizing the space. I mean, I'm super excited that Doug, like I said, behind the camera, he's been with me for over 8 years now, filming all of the projects that we have been building for customers and clients, and also our personal residence years ago at the Tuckerman Street. But now to be able to help him renovate this awesome cottage here in Quincy and deliver a product that is not only cool, but it's gonna be efficient, it's gonna be thoughtful, it's gonna be intentional, all the things that NS Builders cares about. And we get to film it and include it in our site visit series, starting with the envelope of the home and making sure that we're building an envelope that is going to perform well and allow Doug and Talia to have a comfortable home. I'm gonna sit down with Doug here at the end of this video, and we're gonna talk about some of those things and some of those considerations that he's made and we've been able to kind of collectively agree on. So we're gonna head outside and we'll sit down. So if you guys are interested in that, follow me. You guys were gonna do like a quick down and dirty like renovation, get in here and basically blast this thing out, because Talia was due a van, and you guys wanted to move in. And as we looked at it, together, you had said, hey Nick, can you come over and take a peek and give me some thoughts. It has evolved.
Like most projects and most ideas, it's like, oh, it's so simple. We'll just, we'll pull down the drywall, we'll put a new insulation, put up new drywall, put in new floors, and
then it turned into
call it a day.
Right. How much more for a bathroom upstairs? How much, like, can we do this? Can we do that? Like, what really pushed you to make the decision to just kind of start from scratch?
Once we kind of started pulling back the original wall boards, there's like 3 layers of wall boards. When you look down this hallway back here, there were 5 doors, and all 5 doors were different heights. Do we fix this stuff, and am I going to look at it and it's going to drive me crazy? Once we moved in, knowing myself and my wife, we were never going to do a full-scale renovation. I talked more with you, like, it originally started, let's extend the 2nd floor, let's get a bathroom up there, dormer, so we have room up there, new windows. And it's kind of snowballed right there. We've stopped with any new innovations, new ideas. But, you know, then it's like, oh, we might as well do the skylights, but then your roof's undersized, and you need a new ridge, and you need we're replacing the windows, but you should put in headers. Like, these things start hitting, and it's like, well, we want it to be quality, we want it to be done right. It's gonna take 5x longer, but we're never gonna touch it again.
Right, and that's something that we consider in like every renovation, and when we talk to clients, is that let's talk about big picture. Let's talk about what the ultimate goal is, and not that we're gonna go into it and do a full gut renovation, but if the intent is to do a full gut renovation, we have to understand that up front early on, because then we can make the decision as, okay, eventually that's your plan, but do you think that you would move out again? Do you think that you could live in half the home? And that's a question that has to be asked early on for anyone that's considering a renovation. And if you're watching this and considering doing your own renovation, you have to think about that. And I know it comes down to time and money, and both of those things can constrain you from actually moving forward and doing that in that moment. But if you start moving in that direction of what that goal is, it might be more obtainable than you think.
Everybody's circumstances are different, right? I'm living with my in-laws currently. They're nice enough to let us stay there indefinitely with their grandchild, so they don't want us to leave. Not everybody has that option. I think if we'd done those quick lipstick renovation a couple years down the road, we would have essentially ripped all that out and undone it, right? Sure. So it's going to effectively cost more and take more time and zero happiness with it, right? Because that's a factor too. Right. Because we don't have unlimited funds. The idea is to get us weather tight and then pick away at the interior as budget kind of comes in.
And when we talk about weather tight, like GCP was great. The WRB, working with their Vicor product, the roof underlayment, we knew we had to rip the roof off, and we wanted to, you know, with the older roof, we wanted something that was a little bit more robust because the sheathing isn't, you know, just plywood, it is board sheathing. That's what stemmed that conversation. It's like, let's also consider the Vicor product. It actually stuck quite well. The adhesion worked really well. Rockwool right behind it, getting that added extra insulation. A lot of these homes are built with undersized framing. We talked about that. These walls are, you know, a 2x4 wall. We're not going to be spray foaming this house. So we wanted to get that extra layer of R value, and by doing it on the outside gives us a great thermal break from our siding to our exterior wall, which is going to only further improve the performance. Right,
and those people in the comments, there is spray foam in this house because
you have some crack filling.
I spent a weekend and kind of did some shoddy filling in cracks with yellow foam.
Yeah, and my comment about that is more about the fact that we're, you know, if we can reduce the use of foam, we will. And by reducing the use of foam, you know, you are reducing the potential R value, and we're offsetting that by adding exterior insulation.
Right, and something about Rockwool I've noticed is it's everywhere you go, everyone you talk to, like, oh, that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. When we were in Switzerland, Rockwool's where the standard starts. Right. Like, there's nothing, and it goes beyond that. Right. Where here it's kind of the top. In Switzerland, that's where it starts. So that kind of just solidified everything. Because we did a ton of sistering, right?
So you lose a lot of R value.
In some cases, there's 16 inches, just a chunk, right? So having that, just something.
On the outside, thermal break, now you don't get this cold movement right through the exterior wall.
Right, because the ocean's right there. You know, it's a bay, but that wind does blow. I know because that last hurricane, you know, it was raining sideways here.
Before the blue tarp.
Before the blue tarp. But it just gives you that extra barrier. There's a lot of work that goes around that, but I think it's worth it.
We're introducing this to a trade that's never done this before.
Yeah.
So something about when you're considering a renovation, again, this is really want to be where the education is that, you know, you have to work, like, you either have to work with trades that understand or have done these things before, or be willing to kind of educate them. And, you know, that education often takes time, so it needs to be an open dialogue. Yeah. And they're working their way around with installation, and I have a couple notes I want to give them before we're headed out. Well, just because I want them to like understand, like, hey, this is why this is important.
And it's a shout out to Lifetime.
They jumped in and they said, hey, we'll handle what you need here.
Their project managers, their crews, everybody's willing and ready to help you execute what you're doing.
Sure.
I've not only done videos for you in the building world, I've done videos for other builders, and that's not necessarily always the case.
Right.
When a builder is asking a sub to do something a little out of their wheelhouse or maybe a little different, you get a little bit of a different answer than, all right.
Right. So
you can fill in the blank with that.
So like Doug said, shout out to Lifetime for taking the opportunity to work with us on this project. If you guys have questions specific to this project, make sure you drop them down below. But we're going to do our best to capture, you know, how we're building this, but also more just about why we're making some of these decisions and why we find them to be important, and things that we're going to introduce that might be more creative than your standard, and how they can be low budget, high impact details that really make a project what it is.
Yeah, and just renovating a home, especially when it's your own, there's a lot of days where you're just sitting, pulling your hair out. Yesterday was one of those great moments when the whole house was covered with the Vicor. It was just like, oh man, this looks so good. And they literally worked till it was dark.
Yeah, like we said, shout out to them.
Shout out to Lifetime. Stay tuned.
All right, let's get back outside.